Hey, it's Patrick with Bearded Bastard Outdoors here with another video for you. And in today's video, we're gonna something that I realized that I've never done. You know, I've done a few videos on how to create an ember for a fire, but I've never made a video on how to actually make a fire. So in today's video, we're going to talk about just making a basic fire, understanding the fire triangle, what makes a fire work, and a basic fire lay, so then you can understand how to make a fire the easiest way. Stay tuned. So what motivated this video was that recently I took a bunch of kids onto a leadership camp in Eastern Tennessee, and it was a great time. But at the end of the day, we had opportunity to sit around a campfire, and one of the things that I realized was that kids didn't really know how to make a fire. And even though they received a class, teenagers, right, in one ear and out the other, right? But with that being said, all right, I had to get a hat. Got tired of messing with this stupid thing. But if you've been paying attention to the news, we're having a little bit of a heat wave. It is a hot one, ladies and gentlemen. It is a hot one. So bear with me in my appearance, trying to keep the gross sweat off me. Anyway, so it was alarming that these kids didn't understand how to make a fire, even though they received a class. But, you know, like I said, teenagers in one ear and out the other. So this video is just basically building off of what they already learned, which is, you know, super simple. And, you know, for those of you who don't know how to make a fire, hopefully this will help you. But to make a fire, first we have to understand the fire triangle. The fire triangle, I've mentioned in previous videos with making char cloth, has three components: heat, fuel, and air. Heat obviously coming from friction or the ember or solar, whatever. The fuel, which we're gonna go over, can be a bunch of different things. It could be furniture, it can be frickin' fuel, or in the case that we're gonna be doing today, is gonna be wood. And then obviously there's the oxygen. Oxygen, the molecules in the air is what interacts with the chemical reaction process in order to get that ignition and combustion. Otherwise, you just get a smoldering effect, which is how we make char cloth. So with that being said, let's go ahead and dive right into it before I melt. But before we go any further, I think I would be remiss if we don't talk about first the difference between hardwood and softwood. Why? Because they burn differently, right? Softwoods obviously would burn a lot faster, and hardwoods would burn a lot longer. So depending on your objective, be good to know that, right? So a couple ways that you can tell hardwood from softwood is, one, just knowing what wood is, hard or soft. Mostly your conifers, so your pine or your cedars, are going to be softwoods. You also know what hard is. Like, I got some hickory back here. Hickory is an extremely hard wood. I got a chunk of walnut right here. That's really hardwood. Oaks, which are easy to identify because they got the funky looking leaves, right? A simple way though, you can tell, is your fingernail test. And I don't know if you can see it, and I don't really have fingernails for nothing because I got like bad habits and anxiety that I'm going to blame on combat. But I got this little piece right here. I'm just gonna press my thumbnail into it, and I don't know if you can see that or not, but my thumbnail left an indentation. That's, you know, evidence of, you know, a softwood versus this piece of hickory right here. And on this bare wood right here, if I push my fingernail into it, I don't know if you can see it or not, but there's nothing really to see because it's not doing anything. So understanding the difference between hardwood and softwood, you know, pretty solid idea. So we talked about the fire triangle being fuel, heat, and air, right? The air it is what it is. We got to make sure that the fire can breathe, which is why we have different fire lays. The next thing we need to talk about is the heat source, right? So you can do that primitively through friction fires, bow drills, hand drills, or probably the most simplest one is just get yourself a lighter, right? This should be your primary means anyways. You should have like 6 of these in your pack. But with this lighter, you can do what I did. And that's kind of like prepare it for a survival situation. I have some jute, probably about 12 feet of jute wrapped around this. And then I got probably equal length of some Gorilla Tape around there, both of which make excellent tinder sources. Okay, and we'll talk about that in a second. I've also removed the band on here, so when it's cold out there, I used to smoke, and the people who do smoke, you'll know what I'm talking about. That band's a bitch when it's cold out. Okay, so I removed that to go ahead and just, you know, make it that much easier to light. But, you know, something that you can do at home to kind of, that's really easy and cost effective, get yourself some cotton balls and Vaseline in a sandwich bag. Take a handful of cotton balls. You know, this costs $2. I don't know, with inflation, maybe $3, but grab yourself a handful of cotton balls, put them into the bag. We can do more than that. We're gonna make a whole bunch of fire starters because we'll make future videos. So there you go. We got a whole bunch of cotton balls in here. And now I'm gonna take my tub of Vaseline. I'm just gonna take a big old dollop of it. Maybe more than one, just to make sure I got enough in there. Okay, we'll clean their fingers off. And then smush it around. Smush it around in there. Get all the cotton balls covered in the Vaseline. Let's see. I did a very messy job with this, but that's okay. Anyway, now you got a bag full of fire starters, and these things are incredibly easy to light, and I'm going to show you here in a second when I clean my hands. So that would be considered your tinder. Okay, now the purpose of tinder is to turn this little itty bitty ember and transfer it into a much larger fuel source in order to get that flame, right? So the next fuel source that we're going to talk about after getting your tinder bundle is your kindling. Now the rule of thumb is your kindling should be no thicker than your pinky and really no longer than, you know, hang loose 6 inches, 6 to 8 inches, whatever. Right? So it's things like this, right? And what you want to pay attention to is try to listen. That click, right? That click means that it's, or snap, means that it's dry, it's dead. If it's too bendy, then it's still green and probably not going to work. Probably not going to work for what you want. So I'm going to get a couple bundles like I have here, right? I'm gonna set them aside, right? I'm gonna start getting my bundles together. I'm gonna make sure that we segregate every size, because again, the purpose of this fuel is to get this little itty bitty teeny tiny ember into a little itty bitty tiny flame, into a bigger flame, and into a bigger flame, and into a bigger flame, which we get to the next size of wood, which is the rule of thumb is no thicker than your thumb, right? About the same size still. So we're going down to towards the base of these limbs, and we're just breaking these. Now again, pay attention. We're gonna go into a much larger fuel source, you know, big as my wrist, as long as my forearm, etc. Okay, so I'm just gonna take a minute. I'm just gonna process all of this that I got right here, and so I can continue with the video. One more thing that I should cover is that it is hot, but you know what? We train in all conditions because we don't always get to choose, because we don't always get to choose, you know, where we might end up and what the weather, we don't control the weather. So we train in all conditions. But always keep in mind too that, you know, temperatures and humidity definitely do play a factor in making fires. So for these to work, you know, you can't just have it all bundled up. You have to kind of like pull it apart. That way you also get the Vaseline kind of moved around to a puffy little cloud, right? And like I said, your primary source should be a lighter. So you'd light that up and it ignites almost immediately, and it's gonna burn for a really long time. Or this catches so effectively that I'm gonna use my small little ferro rod necklace that I have, that I make them, for those of you who might be interested. I'll put a link in the description to my Etsy shop. You can get your own, okay? 10% goes to supporting veterans and getting them into the outdoors. Ow. Okay, so this lights up so effectively with the Vaseline that I can just take my striker with my striker on it and get it started effortlessly. So never be without a means to make a fire. Now, when I make my fires, there's different lays that you can have. I prefer a lean-to, just because I can use this piece of wood right here as a means to prop my kindling up against. That way I still get airflow underneath. Remember, fire burns up. So so air needs to go underneath it in order to blow it up, right? And this will then serve as a fuel source as it burns down. Okay? Put it right there. I'm gonna use my necklace again just to show you once again how simple these are to light. Okay, so go ahead and get this lit. Okay. Got that going. Go ahead and start getting some wood on there. The smaller, the gooder, okay? Smaller pieces are gonna catch a lot easier than the bigger pieces. And again, we don't wanna smother it, but we also wanna make sure that we get enough airflow down here coming down so then it'll burn up. And we have the smaller pieces on here first so then it can catch, right? So we just let it feed for right now. Giving it more fuel. And I'm going to do so until it's sustaining. So yeah, so that's burning real nice. This is why I like the lean-to, because I get airflow right here. I have a major fuel source right here, and I can just lean my material right on top. And I mean, that's burning nice, right? Let that burn down a little bit, and then I'll go ahead and put the rest of that on there. Okay, depending on how the size I want my fire. And then I'll start with putting that on, and I'll put that on. Okay, maybe not directly over the flame. It's important that we are able to start a fire and get a fire going quickly for survival reasons, meaning, you know, what if you fall into an icy river and you're subject to hypothermia? You have to get yourself warm, okay, as fast as possible. Dump that on there. And yes, I know I just threw that on there, but it'll be okay. Being able to get that fire started quickly can be a lifesaver if you're freezing to death, or if you're trying to signal for help, what have you. And I mean, that's pretty much it. You just let it burn, and you just add larger and larger fuel sources onto it until, you know, it's as big, and you just maintain as big as you want it to get. You know, if it's just a small campfire, that's fine. If you're just trying to boil some water, whatever, cook some food, whatever. If you're trying to make a signal fire, obviously you're gonna want that sucker pretty big, but we're not talking about that. So anyways, that's it. Again, these necklaces right here, I mean, you saw how easy it was to start a fire with that cotton ball and Vaseline. Obviously this wouldn't be your primary choice, but it's something useful to have on you. These are available on my Etsy shop. The link will be in the description to that if you want to go ahead and get yourself one. Anyways, 10% of every sale goes to getting veterans in the outdoors and supporting their cause, whether it be the fallen outdoors or where I'm from in Montana. There's a lot of veteran organizations out there getting them out on the water or out hunting. So anyways, I hope you enjoyed that video. It was a really easy, quick, down and dirty. I hope you got some value out of it. Maybe you learned something. If you did, go ahead and hit that like button, hit that share button. Please subscribe as it supports the channel. I'm trying to grow this sucker. That'd be really cool. But anyways, until the next video, prepare, train, survive.